Norman here, and are you still not subscribed to Matt's channel? Well, if you're not, hit the subscribe button because he's giving out free picks each and every week. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
UFC is back, guys, after a week off, and we're in Brazil. Yes, haven't been back to Brazil for a while. It's a fight night card too, right? You would think they would bring a big pay-per-view there. However, it's not. It's a couple good sneaky fights. Obviously, all Brazilians in each fight. There's at least one in each fight. So that's going to be fun for the Brazilian fans. Ton of Brazilians on the card. Couple key ones as well. We'll be breaking down the main card like usual, guys. Week off last week, coming off a nice pay-per-view card a couple weeks ago in Abu Dhabi. Quick recap for you guys. Obviously, you guys know by now Islam and Chimaev both get it done like they should have, right? Their fighters coming in on short notice. There's really no surprise there. We were on both of them in different capacities. Usman, gets 10-8 in the first round. He got dominated in the first round. Showed for him to avoiding the submission. Good defense. Tucking his chin in there multiple times. Was able to avoid the submission. You can tell, I wouldn't say Chimaev's submission game is very high level, right? He only just got his brown belt. Keep that in mind. Wrestling, very good though, right? He was able to control Usman there on the ground. And in the second and third round, some say Usman won both those rounds. I think a couple of them were very close. I do think that Chimaev did mention that he hurt his hand. Kind of makes sense why he didn't go to his wrestling. He stayed on the feet for the most part. Did get a late takedown in one of the rounds, and that's a round I think he won. I think he won 2-1. I did think he did enough in that fight, but didn't look like the world beater. Now, it could have been because of the hand, right? Because look at the first round. He looked like a world beater. Did he gas out after the first round? That also could be a possibility. He put a lot of energy to try to finish Usman. So that was interesting to see, right? He didn't look like that world beater. But again, you're fighting Kamaru Usman, guys, right? One of the best fighters in the world. How good can you really look? And just from that first round, it was impressive. So you got to tip your cap to him there. Obviously, Islam. Wow. I knew Islam was going to win the fight, but not like that. Head kick, round one. If there was a finish, I thought it would be late, right? I thought it would be fourth, fifth round. But I did probably think Islam was going to, win by decision. We had a small unit play on Islam by decision, but we did have Islam Chimaev parlay. We got both those around even money. So that was the big play of the card. Biggest play for me, though, was Chimaev by decision. Plus 280. Big mistake by the books there. 3-round fight. Usman just doesn't get finished besides the head kick that came out of nowhere on Edwards in the 5th round. So that was a big mistake by the books. Plus 280. We had a nice cash there on Chimaev by decision. We had another parlay that we hit as well. Two Fight Parlays. So it was a good night for us and clients and also video viewers. I think we hit on all plays in the main card. Let's do a UFC update here, guys. UFC update, 66% on the year. Average line, guys, plus money. Plus money, right? No minus 250 or minus 200 or big favorites. If I do like a big favorite, which I usually do, that's why I do the 2 fight parlays, they come at plus money or very close to even money. So that's when I do bet the higher favorites, because you have to find some ways if you can't find an outcome. I'm great at finding outcomes to get plus money in most fights. However, sometimes you can't. Sometimes you don't know if it's going to be that decision or that finish. So that's when you parlay the two, right? The minus 200, minus 250 together to get plus money or around even money. And that's what we hit great at, right? 70% on the year, hitting 2 fight parlays this year, guys. Just coming off 2-0 in the pay-per-view card. You're not going to find these numbers anywhere else around the market, guys. Over 71.1 units long term as well. Systemsportscapping.com or link.me/systemcapping for all my links to podcasts. Remember, we're on Spot. If you're watching on YouTube, we're also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, other places you can get podcasts as well. Client subscriptions, resumes, client comments, social media links, and more, guys. Follow me over on TikTok as well. I usually do a short free video plays, mainly in the PGA, some in the NHL as well. 77% this year on free play videos. Lower volume. I think we're at 21, 22, and 6, something like that. You're not going to find those free play numbers around the market. So hopefully you guys haven't followed me over there. I just do it on TikTok. I'll post it on my Instagram story at times as well, but just trying to get more traffic over there. So I suggest you follow me over on TikTok at system capping. Again, it's in my links in my profiles. Like this video, guys. It does help me out a ton. Comment and subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Just you can give a rating. I know it's a little different than you can't give like a thumbs up on a video, but you can do a rating. Just 5 stars would be great. Thanks a lot, guys. Let's hear from my friend Kristen before we get into this card.
For you sports bettors out there, let's be honest, you probably need a little bit of help beating those books. System capping is a proven long-term winner against the sports betting market in multiple sports. He's built a worldwide clientele due to his high winning percentage over the years. Be sure to click the link on the bio down here to check out his profile, and you can also find out his resume, client comments, podcasts, and subscription opportunities. I'm going to be following him along too, so let's win some money together this season.
Shop around. Shop around, shop around, and shop around. Have multiple books, guys. Can't stress that enough. Prices vary from book to book. Props vary from book to book. Have access to multiple books. Put money in multiple books if you can. Main event, Almeida minus 500 versus Derek Lewis plus 380. Remember, guys, this was supposed to be Curtis Blades, which would have been a great fight. I would have loved to see how that fight goes. I had guys about even in the striking category, and the wrestling were both good. So it would have been interesting to see how that one played out. Now, we're having a little bit of a mismatch here. In comes Derek Lewis on short notice with the punter's chance, right? He has that punter's chance to land that big shot, like most of his fights. And that's what you'll have to do here to win this fight. Almeida will be better everywhere except, the power on the feet, in my opinion. The matchup isn't great for Lewis, especially on short notice. Right? He barely made it here. I think he got some reckless driving charge. That's not gonna, that's not gonna avoid you to travel, right? But probably have some sort of court date or something. But yeah, he was driving like 150 or 120 in like a 50 zone in his Lamborghini. So, that's probably just a fine, no big deal. You'll pay it. But yeah, that was interesting to read this week. I expect Almeida to get this fight down to the ground. That's going to be the path here for Almeida. He's not going to want to stand and bang with Lewis on the feet, right? Why would he want to do that? It's not going to be the key or the path to victory for Almeida. He's going to want to get this fight down to the ground and work there, right? Get that position. Great at getting position, Almeida. Great at getting the top control. And you could see a TKO or submission win here. It's going to be one or the other, right? We have seen Lewis at times get taken down, but also get up. That'll be interesting to see if he can get up. Almeida's not the biggest heavyweight. Keep in mind, very strong. Lewis will be the bigger guy, I'm pretty sure. But that will be interesting because we have seen Lewis get taken down, but also get up, right? Fairly quickly when he's get taken down. So that will be interesting to watch here. Almeida doesn't know what a decision is. He doesn't know what a decision is. Finishes in all of his 19 wins, guys. 12 by submission and 7 by TKO KO. Almeida will have such a ground advantage here. I'll be betting Almeida by finish and possibly submission as well. It's just the numbers, right? If you bet it by submission or TKO, it's around the same. Submission's like minus 110. TKO's like plus 120. So here's what could happen in this fight, right? Almeida can get Lewis down to the ground, and maybe, Lewis knows that choke is going to come, and Almeida just TKOs him, ground and pounds him, and finishes him like that. Or he could find a submission, right? So that's the tough call here, right? You're taking a chance if you're trying to bet the submission. Like, I think he finds a submission, but there is that chance that he can get the TKO finish. So if your book has just to finish the fight, it's not a great price. You're going to pay high minus money. So it is difficult to bet Almeida here, right? Even if you put him in a 2-fight parlay, it's going to be difficult to find a suitor to get close to plus money or even money. So it is a difficult fight to bet. If you can get the finish, there's almost zero chance. I haven't felt more confident a fight doesn't go to the distance in a long time. Zero chance this fight goes to the distance. You want to know what the number is for the fight? If the fight doesn't go to the distance, the minus money, it's minus 2200, guys. That's a big golf outright. It's not going to happen. It's not happening. This fight does not go to this. I would be surprised if it gets into round 3. Very surprised. I expect to finish in round 1, maybe round 2. I think I think the 1.5 total under is probably a good play if you can get it at a decent price. But yeah, Almeida finishes this fight. The question is how, right? And it's going to be by TKO, ground and pound, or submission. I'm leaning submission. I may have a small unit play on the submission for clients. I cannot be 100% sure on how it's going to finish because I can see, Almeida mounting Lewis and he just ground and pounding and they call the fight, right? So it's going to be a tough call. If your book has, most books do have just to finish the fight, if you can bet that, but again, it's going to be high minus as well. So Almeida is going to be the play here. Lewis' only shot, catch him with the big KO, and we did see it before. It's not like it's something new, right? We've seen Lewis do it multiple times, and if there is one guy that could do it, it could be Lewis. Just tough travel, short notice, don't think he'll be in his best shape. And I think Almeida just brings him down. You can bring Lewis down, right? No secret about that. Lewis can bring, like I mentioned, he could get up. However, Lewis will be taken down in this fight, and Almeida is such a high-level grappler. Lewis will be like a fish out of water on the ground there against Almeida's grappling skills. So Almeida's the play. Like I mentioned, submission or TKO is going to be the path, and it's tough to call. So leaning submission, but Almeida gets to finish in this fight. Zero chance this fight goes 5 rounds. Bonfim minus 600 versus Dalby plus 450. Another big price here. I don't agree with this large of a price. I do agree Bonfim maybe minus 300, 350. Dalby's been around, experience, but Bonfim, big prospect in his division, 15-0, the better of the Bonfim brothers. Very good grappling. Jiu-jitsu, has some submissions. Only 3 fights in the UFC here, but he has a clear grappling advantage over Dalby, right? Listen to these numbers: takedown average 4.8, takedown accuracy 100%, sub average 7.2, right? And like I mentioned, his fight short, right? That's why he's getting the submission in round 1 or 2 of his fights, finishing guys fairly quickly. I think it's going to be harder to finish Dalby. Dalby's a veteran. Nice 3-fight win streak for Dalby. Another reason I don't agree with this line, very well-rounded guy, hard to finish, never been finished in the UFC, guys. Dalby, keep that in mind. Decent takedown defense at 62%. It's not great, but it's decent. His volume isn't great on the feet as well. Everything is just good for Dalby. Nothing great. I don't have him great anywhere. But I do think he's tough. And I do think his well-roundedness is able to, he's able to last and fight. He usually starts slow and then he brings it on. No cardio issues with him. He does have a fairly good chin from what I've seen. It's just how better and how more skilled is Bonfim. I do think Bonfim is better in most categories. And can Dalby last the 3 rounds? And I look at the props here, and I think there is some value at plus 350 on decision. I do think there is some value there at that price. I think Dalby can last. Like I mentioned, Dalby's never been finished in the UFC. So keep that in mind. He's been finished once, but it was a no contest. The guy was on drugs or something, right? So I don't count that. If you look at his record, it's 0-0, never been finished. 4 losses by decision. So keep that in mind. I do think if you're going to bet Bonfim here, there is value at decision plus 350. Sure, he could finish him early in the fight. He's fighting at home. The adrenaline, I get it. The better fighter, I get it. But Dalby has lasted in rounds. So I think there's some value plus 350 and even over 1.5 rounds. I don't think Dalby will be a fish out of water on the ground. I do think he has some decent wrestling and some decent jiu-jitsu. So there is value there. Obviously, Bonfim wins this fight, but are you going to bet at minus 600? No. You're going to look at to try to find some value. There's no value really, TKO or submission. You don't really know how that's going to finish. You don't know how he's going to finish the fight. So if he does finish it, there is some value decision at plus 350. This could sneak on my client card, small unit, of course, but it could sneak on my client card for a smaller play. It's worth a shot just because I haven't seen Dalby finish before. Nascimento minus 175 versus Dante Mace plus 150. This is, if you guys have been watching my videos over the years, this is the lower tier heavyweight fights that I usually stay away from. There's just no reason why you have to bet this fight. Sure, I lean Nascimento. He's fighting at home. He's won back-to-back fights over some decent guys, Bozer and Latafi. So, yeah, I lean Nascimento, but I'm going to pay minus 175 to find out? No. I have these guys around fairly even. Right? So this is a big pass for me. I'm not going to get into the details of this fight. But if I had to bet this fight, like I mentioned, Nascimento. Hometown, 2-fight win streak. I don't really think he's better anywhere, to be honest. It's just those two reasons why. Not high on Mays, of course. Sure, there's value, plus 150 on Mays, but this fight's not going to get my money. For you guys that bet every fight, never suggest to do that, but it's going to be Nascimento to play for video purposes. Borello, minus 225 versus Magomedov, plus 225. This is a fun one. This is probably one of my favorite fights on this card, guys. Last time we saw Magomedov, he was fighting against Sean Strickland, the champ now. They pushed Magomedov right up to the top, thinking he's one of the new guys in this division, but he did not look great, guys. He's a guy that looked great in round one. He tried to hurt Strickland early, and then he gassed out very badly. He was gassed out after round one. This was a 5-round fight, guys. Did not fight smart in that fight at all. Strickland ended up finishing it in the second round. So big concerns with Magomedov's IQ and his cardio, right? Borel, great cardio. Grappling and takedowns are high level, which seems like would be terrible for Magomedov. Right? This does not look like a great matchup for Magomedov. However, Magomedov's wrestling is not terrible. He has good wrestling. I do think he has a striking advantage in this. And that's why I think there is a little value at plus 225, even though I do think Borello gets it done due to the grappling advantage. I do think the grappling and cardio will be the difference in this fight. Magomedov, personally, he has to win this fight early. He has to hurt Borello early on the feet in round 1 or 2 to have a chance to win this fight. This fight gets into second and third round. Borello, clear advantage, because I do think if you watch his fights, he likes to try to look for the takedowns. His cardio is high level. Still a young fighter. Very high level jiu-jitsu with Borello. So I do think he's able to get the fight there and win there. 225, not a terrible price. I have him more maybe minus 180, minus 200. So it's not far off. But Magomedov just did not look good against Strickland. And it's not like he's beaten some world beaters prior to Strickland. Remember that, guys. He has no big wins on his resume. He just looked good, right? He looks for early finishes, and he's been getting a few inside. India, he got the one in the UFC against Stolfus, and then outside the UFC, he's getting a lot of finishes as well. But Borel, I'm high on this guy. I do think he has 5 wins in a row here that I can see, undefeated in the UFC. I think he continues this streak here. There is a little concern. It's not a for sure play. It's not a play that I'm high on, but I do think he does enough to get the job done because Magomedov does have that power on the feet to hurt Borel, and also Magomedov looking for a bounce back off after a poor showing against Sean Strickland. Those are a few things you got to keep in mind why I don't love Borel. But he's fighting at home. I do like that for him, and I do think he has the grappling, wrestling, and cardio advantage, which does show me enough to baby bet him maybe in a 2-fight parlay this weekend for clients. Verrera, minus 110 versus Petrosian, minus 1. This is a tough fight to call. Story of this one is clear, guys, and why the books are torn on it too. Put on minus 110, minus 110. Verrera will want to try to get this fight down the ground. No secret about that. Petrosian want to keep it in the fight standing. There's no secret of how this fight want to go, right? No secret. Petrosian, clear striking advantage. Could hurt Verrera on the feet. Verrera, very high-level jiu-jitsu player. Takedown's not the best, though. Keep that in mind. Can he get the fight down to the ground is going to be the big question, right? Listen to these numbers. Takedown defense is terrible for Petrosian. 36%. That's going to be one of the lowest in the UFC, guys. People know they don't want to stand with Petrosian because he's such a high-level kickboxer. Very good striker. Love watching him fight. Tough as well, can take a shot. But the 36% takedown defense is very concerning for me, and is why I'll be staying away from this fight. Because of that 36% takedown defense, if you're betting Petrosian, you're hopefully he keeps the fight standing the whole fight. I don't want to be worrying about that for 3 rounds. I don't want, half a year taken off my life just worrying about Petrosyan keeping the fight standing. But look at this. This is what's interesting. Ferreira's takedown accuracy is low at 26%. Now, I'll tell you why it's so low, because all he does is try to spam takedowns, and then he fought Chris Curtis, one of the best takedown defenses in the UFC. He tried like a handful of times and he never got it there. So it was mainly just from that one fight. But again, he doesn't have great takedowns. He doesn't have great wrestling. It's more if the fight gets down to the ground, he can work off his back, on top, whatever the case may be. He's a high-level champion of jiu-jitsu. So you're hoping if you bet Petrosyan, keep the fight standing and hurt him on the feet. If you bet Ferreira, you're hoping he gets the fight down to the ground and have a submission attempt. No thanks. These are fights you stay away from. You're flipping a coin here. Why do that, right? There's no advantage here in this fight for either guy that I can say, yeah, Ferreira's going to get this fight down to the ground and submit him for sure. No. Petrosyan's going to be able to keep this fight standing and outstrike Ferreira. No. Right? There's just no advantages here at all. So this is where you pass on fights. For you degenerates that bet fights, I'll lean Petrosyan, but I'm not going to bet this fight. I suggest you stay away. Last fight to open up the main card. It's an interesting one. Bonfim minus 450 versus Pichel plus 350. The lesser of the two brothers, right? The Bonfim brothers. In my opinion, they're coming off, Bonfim's coming off a loss of Saint Denis. I like Saint Denis. Good fighter. Pichel, though, one tough son of a bitch, right? That's how he fights. He's a guy that you want to put money on. A lot of experience in there. Has fought the better guys. He's coming off a loss to Mark Madsen. Tough fight. He's 40 now. Keep in mind, Pichel is 40, which does scare me a little bit, fighting a young guy like this. However, he has cashed at underdogs before for me. He's won most of his UFC fights. Plus 350, I wouldn't call you crazy if you put a small unit play on Pichel here. Now, Bonfim's obviously in that bounce back spot at home, which I don't like for Pichel. Bonfim, definitely the better striker, going to be a lot quicker on the feet. Pichel, though, very physical and strong. I don't think he's going to get out-wrestled or out-grappled. I think Pichel's a very good wrestler. I think he's very strong. But Bonfim will have the striking advantage here and be a lot quicker. So he could catch Pichel at some point here. Okay, so keep that in mind. Pichel, I love him. He grinds out fights. He usually avoids early finishes. He's not a guy, he likes to prolong fights due to leaning and wearing on guys. And like I mentioned earlier, the wrestling. Keep in mind, if this goes to the judges, probably end the fight's close, what's going to happen. They're going to give it to Bonfim, right? So Pichel really doesn't finish many fights. I get why Bonfim's a favorite here. Minus 450, I don't. So that's where I say there's value on Pichel, right? Bonfim should win this fight due to everything I mentioned here. But there's value on Pichel if you want to take a shot for a smaller unit, plus 350. There's a lot worse guys you can take shots on plus 350. He's going to be my favorite guy on this card as a bigger underdog at plus 350 to win the fight. I think he has the best chance out of all underdogs that I talked about to win the fight. Right there with Magomedov, but this is a bigger underdog. It's a plus 350 underdog, right? So value there. Concerns his age, his speed on the feet. Bonfim, I think, will be a lot quicker. Could land a big shot in this fight. Keep that in mind. But there is value here on Pichel. That will do it, guys. That will do it. UFC is back. I think there are a bunch of cards. Keep in mind, there is a break, I think, around Christmas and New Year. But there's going to be a bunch of big cards coming up. The New York cards coming up, which I'm excited about. Look out for my NFL video tomorrow. Or listen on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like I always say, guys, bet smart and know your limits. Take care.